This is Corporate Warrior, high-intensity training lifestyle and business with Lawrence Neal, helping you improve your health and physique, become a great personal trainer, and start and grow your hit business.
Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to CorporateWarrior.co. This is the first half of a podcast I recorded exclusively for the Hit Business membership to give you a small taste of what's on offer. The Hit Business membership is an online forum with exclusive content on how to grow your high-intensity strength training business and become a great high-intensity trainer. There is also a live Q&A with a Hit Business expert or exercise scientist every single month, private support and coaching from me, and a high-caliber community with all of the big names in high-intensity training, including Dr. Doug McGuff, Luke Carlson, Adam Zickerman, and many, many more. If you would like to join, please go to corporatewarrior.co/membership. And without any further ado, please enjoy this exclusive content from the Hit Business membership. Luke, welcome back to the membership.
Thanks for having me, Lawrence. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
You're welcome, and thank you for taking the time out of your weekend to feature on this podcast with me today. And as I was saying, kind of before we went online and went live, is just how niche this topic is, but I believe a very interesting and a very useful topic certainly for the members in terms of how they might be able to save some money and not expand too quickly before they can, and fully utilize what they have in their facility. So obviously, last time we spoke towards the tail end of the episode, you said you spoke briefly on how a lot of high intensity training businesses are underutilizing their machines, and how they might go and buy a second line or more machines when actually they could get so much more out of what they already have. And you went on to talk about how you had, at the time of the conversation, you had 7 personal trainers, 2 running groups and 5 running one-on-ones. And I don't know how many machines, but that sounds like a lot. And from what I've seen, in terms of the scale of your facility, that seems like a lot going on. So I guess just to kick this one off, can you describe how you at Discover Strength utilize a line of machines for maximum efficiency? And then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely, Lawrence. Good question. And I'll just clarify that in a busy facility, we would have 7 group clients going at once with 3 trainers working with those group clients. So for us, we have a 3-to-1 ratio, but the ratio changes as the group gets bigger. So you have 3 clients with 1 trainer, and as soon as it tips to 4 clients, you have a second trainer, but we don't allow it to go to 6. So the most you can have is 5 clients with 2 trainers, and then it jumps to 7 clients or if it jumps to 6 clients, it's 3 trainers and 7 clients with 3 trainers. So the worst ratio is a 3-to-1. And then when the group gets bigger, the biggest group we'll take is 7. Then that's 3 trainer to 7 clients. Then we'll often have 3, 4 additional, 5 additional one-on-one sessions going on. So I would say a normal night, a normal morning in a given location is there's a 5-person group with 2 trainers, and then probably 4 or 5 one-on-one sessions going on at once. So if there's 5 one-on-one sessions in a 5-person group, that's 10 clients in a facility. I had a rare moment last night. This was great. I commented that it felt like Discover Strength 2006. I was in our largest location in terms of square footage. And I generally only see clients on Mondays and on Sunday mornings. And we had a staff member, unfortunately, whose grandfather passed away. And I ended up working his shift for him. And it was fantastic. It was just me in there with all of my one-on-ones, and then I had groups scheduled. And so that was a very atypical night, but it was really fun for me because it brought me back to 2006, which is what, every day was like.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. So,
and I'm aware that I didn't answer your question at all there. Your question was, how do you utilize the equipment? Well, we
That's
just
right.
thought that as long as there's these are the guidelines, as long as there's not a log jam on equipment, the facility doesn't have to have just one client in it. And it's not up to me I mean, my opinion on this is not the final answer on the ultimate exercise environment. So I am completely aware that you have listeners that think the ultimate or the ideal exercise environment is a key to producing results, which would mean no distractions, one client, ideal temperature, fans, etc. And I'm not disagreeing with that. If that's what they think is important, then fantastic. We don't think that's important whatsoever. So we have music. We do not have fans. It is cool, but we don't have to have just one trainer in there or one client in there. So I think you have to kind of adopt that mindset if you're going to do this. And I have yet to see a scientific paper published that suggests that if a fan is on you and if there's no distractions, that you'll produce better results. That doesn't mean one couldn't be published, but I've just never seen that as an important part of the stimulus. So we just said, hey, we're going to have a lot of people in there at one time. We just have to make sure that the flow of the workout is never interrupted. So the mindset that all of our trainers hear all the time is your client has to feel like they are in a bubble with just you and them, and that's it. There are not other people in the room getting in the way of their workout. When we're not doing a good job, the workout feels disoriented or disjointed. So let me give you an example. We walk in the facility, and let's just say our first exercise was going to be the seated calf machine. And if the trainer, as they walk back toward the exercise floor, says, okay, we're going to start off with seated calf, and they look up and they see that another trainer is on it with a client, and they say, I'm sorry, we're not going to do calf. We're going to go to your ab exercise. And they turn and look at the Med-X abdominal, and someone's on it. And they say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to do Med-X abdominal. We're going to do – that is disjointed. The client right away feels like, okay, I can't do the workout I'm supposed to do because it's busy in here. So we have – and this is the other last kind of key point for us – is that you can only start the workout in about 3 to 4 different areas. You can go the first upper body, you can go the first leg exercise, or you can go midsection, and that's really it. So we do not care if you do upper body first or if you do legs first, but you have to do those exercises in order. So if your leg workout is calf, Med-X leg press, Nautilus adductor, and Med-X leg curl, you always have to do those exercises in the exact same order, because if you do leg press last, your performance or your numbers are going to be different. Clearly, the stimulus is going to be the same. Your results will be the same, but we're not going to be able to track progress effectively. So we keep all the upper body and all the legs in a given workout, in a given routine, similar. The only thing that will deviate is you can do an anterior tibialis exercise anywhere, because as far as I'm concerned, that won't impact performance of a different exercise. So really, honestly, and we have 2 new trainers right now, I'm just thinking about their development. One of the things they learn really early on is how to move through a location when it's really busy. What am I allowed to go to next? If I walk toward my first leg exercise and someone's on it, I have to be scanning the room and thinking about my midsection exercise, the tibia exercise, or my first upper body exercise. And we always teach that at the end of the set that you're on with the client, you're always thinking about your next move. So if I just did my first upper body exercise, I have to be looking at the next upper body exercise. Is it ready? Is it being utilized by another trainer? And if it is utilized right away, I have to be thinking about, okay, can I go to a tibia exercise? Can I go to my midsection exercise? And we'll communicate with the room if we're going to be monopolizing a few different machines. Like we have one workout, it's called Gittleson Legs. It came from Mike Gittleson, who you met at the rec conference, where he would do a leg extension, immediately followed by a leg curl, immediately followed by a leg press for 20 reps, immediately followed by a leg extension with now about 50% of the weight, immediately followed by leg press again for 12 repetitions.
Oh my God.
So you're occupying leg extension and leg press for a while there. And so that trainer would say, hey, just so you guys know, I have Gittleson legs. And we would kind of know, all right, I have to make a different plan, and I should probably go upper body or midsection and, maybe adductor, abductor if my workout calls for it. So I think you just have to have some rules or guidelines. And I am insanely anal about like order of exercise, that we can't jump around and do different order of exercise. So you just have to have some rules or guidelines in your facility so there's consistency. And our guidelines are that you have to go in the same order, but we don't care what segment of the body you start with.
Got it. Okay. But so many questions come up for me about that though. So even if you do start, even if you do start with the upper body, because even though the workout originally had a lower body start, and you start with the upper body, there's still going to obviously be some systemic fatigue. It's still going to affect the overall numbers. So you're still going to get, it's still going to be difficult to track progress, no?
So Lawrence, I would agree with that on 50% of the male population when it involves leg press. So if you do leg press as your very first exercise, I think that your last two upper body exercises are going to be impacted. Whereas if you did all the upper body first, I think you might perform better on the upper body exercises. But I think for 95%, maybe 98% of females, I think it makes no difference whatsoever. And I think for a high percentage of males, it makes no difference. And the only reason I have that opinion is that I've recorded, on tens of thousands of workouts, and I've always thought, okay, this person's destroyed because they did leg press. Their numbers are not going to be as good at the end of this workout. And surprisingly, there's just incredible consistency. However, I never said 100% on any of those. I just said 95%, 50%. So, I think it matters for me. When I do my own workouts, I have some workouts where I do upper body first and then legs, and I have some where I do legs first. And I'm doing a workout now at one of our locations that has 20 reps on the Medix Avenger leg press in a full squat position, so the seat is just reclined more. I will always do that after the upper body, and the upper body is really brief, but I can't. I'm pretty worthless, I think, after I do that 20 reps on that leg press. Yeah, so I agree with you, but I just don't think it's I do not think, we have not seen that there's as much of an impact as I would have assumed, 20 years ago.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And it's interesting because obviously by having that flexibility, it does help keep the flow going and ultimately make your business more profitable, and make the client happier, I suppose. And I'm just thinking, as you say this, so if a client comes in and I'm just trying to understand this better, how you systematize this in your business. So someone comes in and they've got a workout card, and they've got a set regime, and everything's, or let's say 50-60% of that is being monopolized. I know that might only be for a short duration, but I just want to try and understand better, how is it that your trainers are able to kind of adapt on the fly? That's what it sounds like from what you're saying. They're sometimes, especially on a very busy day, they almost have the workout card and they have to kind of go, well, I'm going to have to change this radically. And then if they do, isn't that a problem, because then the workouts are inconsistent? So how do you get around all that?
They never change the workouts. I would say 1 out of 300, 1 out of 500 workouts they change. And if they change, we just document. We literally write order was changed. So the client still covers the muscle groups and does the exercise, but we do not even record the performance. We just denote that the order was changed, because the recording is worthless. And clearly, Lawrence, that impacts some exercise more than the others. I'm not certain. If you do leg press all out to failure, and then you do adductor all out to failure, and then the next time you do it, 5 days later, if you flipped it, did adductor first and then leg press, I'm not sure if you'd have a change in performance. But clearly, like leg extension, you would. If you went leg extension to leg press versus leg press to leg extension, that's like a totally different experience and totally different numbers. So we will never change that order. We will just have to understand, what can I go to and what can I not go to. And so that's, hey, I just did leg press, very first exercise of the workout. The second exercise is leg curl today. Someone's getting on it. I will just pay attention. I'll look and see, is the trainer just about at failure with that client, and I probably have to wait about 12 more seconds and then I can use it. Or are they on rep 3 right now? And I should probably just go do my abdominal exercise or my medics torso rotation, or like I said, a tibia exercise. So as long as they're paying attention, and like I said, always thinking about their next move, it's really not an issue. I will say that we've done things like in our Plymouth location, which is our first ever location, we just had one leg press. And then years later, we built a second location and had 2 leg presses. We built a third location and had 2 leg presses. Fourth location, 2 leg press. Well, back to the first location still has just 1 leg press. And I frankly think the Medic's leg press is so versatile. I mean, I would say that there's 3 seat positions on it. Some people would say that there's 6 positions, because you can kind of use the in-between positions. We use it as 3 positions. You have really good variety in that one tool. Well, we always had a log jam on leg press. If you're going to see 100 clients in a day at a location, which for us we'll easily see between 70 and 100 clients every day in that location, that means, if there's 70 people on that leg press in one day, because we're always using leg press, and time under tension is up to 2 minutes, I mean, that leg press is going to be occupied for a long time. And so we have to make sure that there's not log jams. So we had to buy another leg press for that location. So in that scenario, we bought a pendulum hip press. We never buy a double of any machine, because we just think the variety in the training stimulus is important. And so then we just program our routine so that half the time you'd be doing a Medic's leg press and the other half of the time you'd be doing a pendulum hip press. And to be fair, it's probably 40% of the time you're doing Medic's leg press, 40% of the time you're doing pendulum hip press. And then the other 20% of the time you're using like a ball squat, you're using some type of body weight squat, some type of body weight lunge. We're doing a compound leg movement. We're just not using one of the presses. So we just had to try to avoid log jams. So let me give you a real tangible example. And this is getting into the weeds, but we've always bought a Nautilus Nitro, whether it's Nautilus Nitro Plus or Nautilus Nitro, now they call it Evo, combo adductor abductor. I love the machine. I love that you can do adductor and abductor on the machine, and I love both of the movements rather than having separate adductor and abductor. Well, that becomes a logjam, because anyone that has to use adductor or abductor has got to use that one machine. So in our newest location that we just opened a week ago, we have a Medix adductor, and then we did the Dynavac gluteator, so that that's really our abductor movements. And I know it's hip extension and abductor. We just don't have a log jam then. So so you have to think through some of those things. How am I not going to create a log jam?
Do you do you still get any sort of log jams at any of your locations? Do you still have any of those issues at all that crop up?
You could plan a workout poorly, and I shouldn't say plan. You could administer a workout poorly, where you and I, Lawrence, are training clients, and it's a 30-minute session, and we're down to the last 3 minutes of the session or 2 minutes of the session, and we both have, as our last exercise, Medix low back. And we both turn to it, and I ask you, the first thing our trainer is always going to ask our trainer, do you have anywhere else you can go? And the trainer will say, no, this is my last exercise. And as you know, there's really no replacement for the Medix low back. It's not, we can't do a different exercise. And so we'll just wait. And that rarely happens, because people learn to communicate and understand, they have to get everything in. And our 30-minute workouts, we use all 30 minutes. I mean, we use like 29 minutes and 58 seconds of the workout. No one ever gets done 5 minutes early. And so it's a balancing act to make sure that there's not a log jam, because if it spills you over 2 minutes in your next session, that's a problem.
Just curious, because I know that at Discover Strength, this may have changed, but from what I remember and talking to you before, and certainly what I've experienced, is you will generally have around 10 exercises, give or take. And it makes sense to me that you would have a greater number of exercises and salt in a number of single joint movements as well as multi-joint movements in order to fill that half-hour slot. And it's not like you're trying to employ the rush factor, because as you've kind of explained on this podcast, it's not really viable from a business perspective and efficiency perspective to do the rush factor with multiple clients. Does that make sense? So I'm just curious as to why if
I
that's driving the volume.
I mean, we don't use the rush factor. The only time we really use a rush factor is during a pre-exhaust, where we're very clear that we want less than 3 seconds in between. And we're not even necessarily demanding the 3 seconds because we're certain that it produces better results. We're demanding the 3 seconds because we want consistency. So if I train you on a pec fly to chest press and you have 3 seconds in between, and the next trainer trains you and you have 16 seconds in between because you grab a quick sip of water and towel off your face, that's a different experience. And so we'll rush factor between pre-exhausts, and then there's times where we just say this is a sequence, where we want there to be a sequence, and all sequencers are denoted as no rest. So we may do a sequence where you're going leg extension, immediately followed by leg press, immediately followed by a walking lunge. We may do a sequence where you are going, a common chest sequence would be Medix chest press, immediately followed by Nautilus pec fly, immediately followed by negative only dips. And that will be absolute rush factor. And you will communicate that to the other trainers. I'm going these 3 in a row. Well, if I know, Lawrence, you in your own workout, you're about to go chest press, pec fly, negative only dips, and I see you sit down on chest press, I can still bring my client to dips and get a full set of dips in because I know you're not going to be there for a couple minutes yet. I can judge where you are and how long that sequence takes. So then after those 3 exercises in a row, I'll say, Lawrence, take your time, go get some water. And you may take a minute of rest. You may take a minute and a half of rest after 3, brutal exercises in a row. So we'll always base it on how exhausting a particular exercise or sequence of exercise is. If you get off leg press and you're pretty destroyed, I'm not going to have you, unless this is the plan, unless this is how we've designed it, jump into chin-ups right away. But I will have you sit down and jump into tibia right away because, tibia is like a break after doing leg press. Clearly still intense for that musculature. It's just not systemically devastating, not exhausting. So we'll keep those things in mind too. Or after leg press, a client has never been upset if we say, hey, take your time, grab some water. When you feel ready to go, we'll move to overhead press. So we'll just base it on how much recovery we think is needed. What would be a bad client experience is if you came in and your first exercise was seated calf, and then you had a long rest after seated calf. And then I'm making this up, and then we did abdominal, and there's a long rest after abdominal. And then we did neck extension, long rest after that. That would not be a very good flow. So if there's going to be rest, we want that rest to be when it's purposeful and someone's devastated and they need some rest.
Yeah. So it sounds like your trainers are kind of trained to be, obviously, I know there's a big emphasis on, one set, one rep, one client, like always being really focused on the client, but at the same time, over communicating with the rest of the trainers so that everyone knows where they're at and they know the needs of other trainers in terms of what machines they're going to be moving over. Is that just, I can imagine it being quite active and almost like quite a noisy, active environment, but not in a negative way, like in a very kind of productive way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're right. And we really, for all of our trainers, we have 5 key roles that really describe the job, the entire job. It is the job description, just 5 things that they have to do. And so, for example, one of them is what we call knowledge base around evidence-based /HIT methodology. That would be one of their key roles. Well, one of their key roles is be a great team member, be a great teammate. So like you're on the floor with 3, 4, 5 other trainers. You have to be a teammate and you have to communicate what you're doing next and what they're doing next. And you have to look around and not be a jerk and occupy machines. And every time I'm on the floor, I have a trainer that says, no, Luke, you can't use seated row because I'm pre-exhausting there. And then we have subtle rules like, now we use iPads for our workouts, but it used to always be clipboards. You always set your clipboard on the machine that you're going to pre-exhaust to. So if I'm training somebody on pullover, I'm not holding the clipboard or I'm not holding the iPad. I go set it on seated row, which actually is in our facility a few feet away. It's a ways away. And if someone was trying to go to seated row and use it, they know they can't use it because there's a clipboard sitting on it, which means I'm coming there from pullover. So there's some ways where we're communicating where we don't have to actually say anything. I mean, it's universal that if the clipboard is sitting on the machine seat, that it is not open. It is, you're about to pre-exhaust to it. Now, I might, if I'm training you, Lawrence, and I know we're going to do 8 reps or 6 reps of a hammer strength incline press. So it's a higher load, less reps overall. We're not going to be under tension for an extremely long period of time. And the trainer had a clipboard sitting there, like they were going to pre-exhaust from pec fly to that incline press. I might just holler down and say, what's your protocol on pec fly? And they tell me what they're going to do. And I'm like, I know they're going to be under tension for 90 seconds or 2 minutes with some advanced overload techniques. I can sneak Lawrence in here and do a set of 6 with some advanced overload techniques, and we'll be long gone before that person gets here. So I'll move their clipboard. I'll set the seat and the weight for what you need. I'll train you on that. And then when you're done, I'll quickly set the seat and the weight so it's ready to go for my teammate, and they're ready to go. So there is communication during the set. But the first principle is your client's got to feel like they're in a bubble with you. And if they don't feel that way, then there's an issue. So like, we're not talking to other trainers or talking to other clients in a way that our client feels like they're not paid attention to.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that episode. For the rest of the podcast and access to lots of exclusive high-intensity training, business, and exercise science content, monthly Q&As with experts like Luke Carlson and Dr. James Fisher, and the best community in high-intensity training, please join the membership over at corporatewarrior.co/membership.
Discover how to improve health, become a great personal trainer, and build a successful high-intensity strength training business. Check out corporatewarrior.co. corporatewarrior.co.